Hi guys, and welcome to tutorial number 2 within this Make Music with Reason 6 course. In this tutorial then we're going to have a look at creating a session and putting some beats into it. So I'm going to select new session. I'm going to detach my mixer, detach my rack. So I've got my 3 windows. And then in here I'm going to create a drum machine. So there's a couple of different ways that you can create machines. If I go into this create menu, I can select create instrument, or I can go to this instruments menu here and just select the drum machine that I want. There's our 2 drum machines there at the bottom of that list. The difference is if I go into create instrument, I can get this folder, which is all my instrument patches, and I could select drums from this folder. So there's drums and percussion. I can double click and go into there, and we've got drum instruments, drum kits, drum loops, machines, percussion instruments, and this will give you every preset that is available within any of the machines. So there'll be lots of different types of drums that you can create in lots of different types of machines, not just drum machines, and you can go in and select the different types of kits that you want. So I can go into drum kits, we could go into house kits, and there'll be a number of different types of kits that are made by different types of machines. So you'll have some that are made by the redrum machine, some that are made with the Kong machine, some that are made with the sampler, and every time you click on one of those you can see something happening in the background there that automatically loads that in. So whenever I click on those different kits, you can see then it's putting in the machine that then that particular preset is relevant to. So all depending on the different type of kit, it'll be a different preset for a different type of machine. So you can do it that way, but what you can also do is if I click cancel here, you can go to create and just select the actual instrument that you want. So in this case I know that I'm going to use the Kong drum machine, so I'm just going to select Kong from this option, and that'll insert the machine like so. Now this will already have a default preset inserted into it, and this is the same with any of the machines that you use. They automatically come with a preset inserted into them. It won't be a blank machine. In this case with the Kong machine, it's a default drum kit called the Kong kit, and these 16 pads then basically are where your drums are stored. So each one of these different pads can store one sample. That'll be one drum sound. So I can click on these pads and it'll play the sound that's in there. Like so. And down in the left hand side here you've got various different settings for each one of those individual drums. So you can see you've got the drum number, so it'll give you the pad number. You've got a level for the volume of that drum. You've got a pan control to send that sound either left or right. So this is what is meant by preset. You have a different sample put into each one of these pads, but you also have a number of different parameters here that can control that sample and change that sample in a number of different ways. So what you can do is go to this section here where you have the name of the preset kit that's already in there, and you've got a number of different buttons here. You've got this little scroll up and down button, which will take you up and down through the different types of kits that are in that folder. Like so. You can see every time I move that up and down, it's then changing the 16 drum samples that I've got in there. You can also do this by clicking on the name, and it'll show you the different presets that are in that particular folder. But the better way to do it is to click this button in the middle here, which is your browse patch button. This button will crop up in all the machines that you use throughout Reason. And if I click on that, then it opens up my patch browser window, same window we had when we went up to create and create instrument earlier on. We can now go into Kong patches. It'll default going into those patches because that's where you are originally. So you can see that there's that Kong kit that we had previously. If you need to navigate your way in here, you can basically just go back to the beginning, which is your Reason Factory sound bank, and then you can see folder folders for all your different types of machines in there. So you just need to scroll down, find Kong patches. There they are. Double click and you can go in. So I can go into Kong kits here and select the particular type of kit that I want. In this Kong kits folder, there's a number of different folders based on different types of drum beats or different types of drum kits, acoustic, Caribbean, club, electronic, and so on, down to the bottom there. So it's different based on different types of sounds, different sort of genres of music. These top ones then are artist created patches. So Propellerheads has got then relationship with these different artists that have created a number of different drum kits for them that you can use within your track. So to access these folders, we either click on the button on the left hand side, like so, or we can just double click and go in there, and this is your list of patches. So I can go in, select that particular patch, scroll down here, click OK, and that'll load that patch then into that drum machine. Like so, and we can scroll through those different sounds and have a listen to see whether that's the type of sounds that we want to put into our track. So the next thing that I'm going to do, now I've selected a patch that I like and that has sounds in it that I like, is I'm going to go into my sequencer window here, and I'm going to use the little magnifying glass buttons. I'm going to click on the plus one. I'm just going to zoom in like so. And what I'm going to do is create just a basic 1-bar loop here. So within this window, we've got a number of different markers. We've got 2 markers here. One says L and one says R, and they're the 2 different ends of our loop. So if I scroll down to my transport bar here and turn on my loop button and then press play, we can see we've got a play locator here, which is just showing us at what point within the track we are currently at. So we're scrolling through the different bars here along this top section here. These are bar numbers, so bar 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. And you can see there when the play locator gets to the end of bar number 8, it's then automatically going back to the start. If I turn that loop button off, then it'll get to the right locator here and just go straight past it. Like that, which we don't want it to do at the moment. We just want to start with some loops. So I'm going to pull that play locator back to the start, and I'm just going to click and drag this right locator down to the start of bar 2. So we'll just have a 1-bar loop here, like so. So that'll continue to play around. So what I can do is scroll up here, and at the moment we've just got our main cursor, our selection tool, highlighted, but in our toolbar I can select this pencil tool, and what I can do is just click in this lane. So this lane is for our Kong number 1, so there's our Kong number 1 machine there. Kong number 1 in your arrange window, your sequencer window. I can scroll to the left and just click with my pencil tool into that section, and that'll put in what's called a clip. Let's just move this play locator out of the way. That'll put in then what is called a clip, and this clip will allow you to then sequence a certain amount of MIDI information that will then send a signal to this machine telling it what sounds to play and when to play them. So in this section here, we're currently in arrange mode. So this mode will allow us to look at the information in blocks like this and use those blocks to arrange all your different ideas into a track. But we'll come back to that later on when we look at arrangement. What we want to do is to switch this to edit mode, so we can actually edit the information that's in this little block or clip. And we do that by clicking on edit mode up the top, and that takes us into the actual edit window for this machine. So if I then use my plus button again, I can zoom out like so, and this is our window for the Kong machine that we've just installed into the program. And if I scroll on the left hand side here, you can see that we've got just an abbreviated version of the name of each one of those 16 different sounds that's in that machine. And if I scroll over that name, you can see that the cursor then turns into a little speaker, and all I have to do is then click on it and it'll play that sound like so. So on the right hand side here we have then a grid, and that grid is as we set up within the loop, it's 1 bar long. So it's beat number 1, beat number 2, beat number 3, and beat number 4. And in each one of those beats we've got 4 different slices. So each one of these beats has been divided into 4 different slices to give us 4 different rhythmical options within each one of those beats. This can be changed in this section up here, which is your grid size, and we can scroll up. So I'll just show you what happens here. If I scroll up to bar, then you can see it gets rid of all those slices, so it only has one actual option to put in a MIDI note. So I can change that to half, quarter, eighths, and so on, and just divide that down until I get the right amount of slices that I want. Chances are you'll probably primarily use sixteenths, and the developers of the program know that, so they've put the default for any clip that you put in will default to sixteenths. So basically each one of these little rectangles that's in this grid is then one position that you can put a MIDI note in, and that MIDI note will then, when you play back the track by hitting your play button, that MIDI note will send a piece of information telling the machine that you've selected to play that sound at that particular rhythm within the track. I'm just going to sequence in just a very basic kick drum pattern so you can see what I'm talking about. So if I stay on my pencil tool, and I'm just going to click in a MIDI note at the start of each one of these beats. Beat 1, 2, 3, 4. So whenever I then press play, it'll then play back that one beat. I can then move to another channel. Say my snare, I can put in a snare on 2 and on 4. Like so, and you can start then selecting a number of different sounds that you want to put in to that track and start sequencing them in. You can sequence them as you're actually playing back the track, so you can start to hear, where they're going in as the loop's playing around. Like so. So what you can also do then is go back to your selection tool and move these around. So whenever I click on this, it'll play the sound, but I can also move it either horizontally or vertically. If I move it horizontally, it just changes the rhythmical position of that particular sample. Or if I move them up, it'll then change the sound that it's actually playing. Like so. You can put in any combination of those notes as you like. The last thing you can do then is go back into your machine here, and then when I play that loop around, you can see then the pads highlight whenever the MIDI note hits, and I can go into each one of these and just do some basic editing like volume controls and things like that. So remember, if you click on the pad, you can then edit the particular sound that's in there. Like so, just do a real basic edit of the sound that comes within that particular preset. What you can also do is not just set up the patch and select a particular patch, but you can change the individual samples. So you can see that we've got these three icons up here, but we've got them again down here. So up here, this is for changing and selecting the patch. Down here, it's for changing and selecting the sample. So if I've got, say, my snare sound there and I want to change it, you don't have to change the whole patch. You're not stuck with what you get. So you can click on this browse sample, and if I go to parent folder and then back up again, Kong sounds and samples, there's all the individual samples. So if we show you the how to get there from Reason Factory Sound Bank, Kong patches, Kong sounds and samples, and there's all the individual sounds. So we can go into snares and then select the one that we want. Let's change that to more of a clap type sound, and you can see that that automatically previews that as I move through the track or move through that folder, basically because this auto play button is on. You can click that and that'll play that track, or it will, or play that sample, or it'll auto play it every time you scroll through. And then we can click OK, and that'll then replace that sample in there. Like so. Irrelevant of what's happening in here, your MIDI stays the same. You're just changing the sound that you're triggering with the MIDI that you've already sequenced. Alright, so that's a real basic drum beat with our Kong machine. In the next tutorial, we're going to add some percussion on top of this. Alright, I'll see you then.